feel free to look at each other and talk to each other as well. And aside from that, just answer.
You ready? Are you excited? Let's go! What's going through? This feeling gets me high.
Awesome. Both of your character intros got a lot of great response from the audience, especially with both of them coming from favorite and loved musicals. What was it like hearing it for the first time and putting those scenes together?
I got teased because we played mine and then we waited like 2 or 3 weeks to actually do it. So I was just like, can we get to this part now? Just because I wanted to see what was going to happen. So that was definitely really fun.
For yours, we did Defying Gravity, and we have an alumni who was on the national tour of Broadway Wicked. What was it like knowing that we were kind of paying homage to that? Or can you talk to that for this?
Yeah, no pressure. So being able to portray something that like a core alumni who is also related to one of the directors definitely actually was a lot of pressure. It's like I can say no pressure and be like, yeah, it was nothing, but let's be real. Wicked is one of the greatest musicals, at least in our generation, that's been in production, and getting to see it, I got to see it when I was younger, and at least once or twice when it's come around. So getting to actually like dance to it and be center stage of it, it's just like, I can't mess up on this part, don't trip over the people on the floor. Like, just trying my very best to make it as defying gravity as it should be.
You did great, I think.
Thank you.
Just saying.
And you were one of the first ones we did.
Yeah. So I didn't tell anyone about how I felt about hearing my song for the first time. But when I was younger, I actually had like an entire year-long span of time when I'd come home from like school and just watch Grease. So when my song came on, I felt nostalgia. I felt like all those times after school when like I just turn it on and I'd do that before I do my homework, and I'm like, all right, I'm good now. I've watched how everything goes. I've seen Danny do his thing. He sang all the songs, and now I can do my homework, and that's like a secret guilty pleasure, I guess, that no one knew about. So doing that was really, really fun for me.
My favorite was Ida's, only because I was like, this is great, it's Grease. I was so excited. I was like, oh, I haven't heard this song in so long.
Grease Lightning was like one of my favorite parts, you know, and he very much is the class representative. He's always like, when he's on board mode, just making sure everybody's like, hey, are you okay? I got your 6 kind of deal, you know? So I think he was a very good choice for Ida. Good job, good job.
What it felt like being class rep for the team throughout everything, even putting together the video, was something that made me very conscious of every dancer. And I try to do a good job of knowing the set well enough when we're given the set, but this kind of forced me to know this is when this person comes in, and this is where that person comes in, and this is how they exit, and this is the direction that this choreo is going, and this is how they travel. And I did that because I didn't want someone to have a scene in the video where they were moving left and the video was going right. So I had a bunch of times when I'd be in my room and I made the video and I'm like, wait, how does this go? And I'd put it behind me and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, I think. And then I got to the point where I got confused with it, so then I made one video where everything was the direction I thought it was, and I made another one where all of it was flipped, so I was like, I'll be right one way or another. I don't know which one it'll be, but I'll be right somehow. And it was hard not to get too hyped because I wanted people to see how accurately everyone was portraying their characters. So I kept wanting to put scenes in the video from the show to say, hey, look at how accurate this is. Look at how great this person is. It's the same thing. And then I had to get calmed down a little bit, and they were like, that's great. It's an AMV. Tone it down just a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, because they can, honestly, our dancers can do that for themselves. They can speak for themselves. Their movement, their choreo, their body language, all of that speaks for itself. So it was fun getting to find little pieces to just highlight everyone, even if it was just a green background so you could see Rio pop up on Crazy Frog, or like the gradient background so you could see Joseph living his best spoken word life. Like, all of that was just really, really fun to get to bring out moments for everyone to do their thing, to shine, to be seen. Again, to be seen by people so that everyone can see how great they are. It's just fun making sure that everyone is in an environment, knows that they're taken care of, so they can do whatever it is they need to do on stage and put on the best show possible. Not just for the comrades, but for each other. It's one of those things where we work so hard and we go on this journey, and it would just suck for someone to feel like no one was there with them on that journey.
I think somebody that really stands out is Shellin/Ida, because I think what made him portray him so well is that not only in his dancing was he Ida, but in the in-betweens, you know? It's like, in those moments when it's like, oh, it's not choreographed, you can just like do whatever, you see him, he's still in it, you know? And he's still committed to his character, and it's just so fun to watch him. So he is my favorite.
So you three had characters that could promote a very specific stylization of dance. What was it like taking your character and fitting their personalities and quirks into the set?
So with Tokoyami, the way I interpreted his stylization of dance was very brooding, very dark, and tried to incorporate that into my own personal style of dance, because the way I dance is different from how I would have interpreted Tokoyami. So for instance, if you watch the freestyle video, I tried to tick more and be like, I mean, he's a bird. So I try to be a bird.
Dark. Tokoyami.
Bird. Period. So the moment was during the freestyle, and I had mini shadow come out of my shirt. I just remember when we were doing the freestyle, like everyone was so dope. Everyone was so like into their character and into doing who their character was. And I'm, you know, two-stepping in the back, just waiting like for my turn. Like, what do I do? What's gonna set me apart? I'm like, of course, like I have dark shadow. Like, how can I make that cool? And then just, I'm hoping that it like came out good, and I'm glad that it did. So I want to look cool without like being too cool. So the moment I was really excited for the audience to see was Dark Shadow, because Sonali worked so hard on creating Dark Shadow, and it looks amazing. Yes. And it was so much fun carrying it around the con, and it was cool to have it for that one bit, you know?
Honestly, Joseph. He was a fantastic Tokoyami, because Tokoyami, he's very, like, in the episode where they go into his room, it's like all dark, and you're like, oh, you're really into it. And he's like, I'm so into it, but don't look at me. And that's Joseph. And he's like, I'm so into it, but don't look at me. But look at me, but don't look at me. So, it was great.
As far as Shoji goes, Shoji was actually my favorite character at Boku no Hero when I watched that.
As it's a place.
When I watched the anime. Yeah, Shoji was actually my favorite character. So when I got chosen to be Shoji, I was like super excited. His aura, I guess you would say, he's very like reserved, I guess you could say. He doesn't really stand out so much. He's more of like a silent killer in the corner. That character of him is actually very similar to the way I kind of dance, I guess, because I'm very like isolation pop, like very small, but when I come out hard, kind of like Shoji is. So being able to portray Shoji was a little bit easier for me, I guess you could say. And I think the thing I liked the most was just the fact that I was able to perform as my favorite character in the way that I would normally do things anyway. So I was just like, yeah. When we were doing rehearsals, going through my mind before I came up with this was like, oh, I wish I could do the arms. I can't dance with those extra arms, but I want to make those extra arms. Eyeballs, and there's hands. So I started doing this during rehearsal. And I would actually use like both hands. But then on the actual show day, I didn't get to zip up my jacket, or my jacket all the way. So as we were coming up, I was like, oh, I get to do Shoji hands, but oh, I have to button up my jacket. So I thought it would be a good idea to just try to do one hand and zip it up. I would zip up my jacket, but it didn't work with the one hand, so I was just, you can just see me like, no, fail.
Eddie, right before Bakugo's like big speech, he was trying to like fix his jacket, and he had one of his hands, as Shoji, he just had one of his hands going, and he was like, oh god. That part. Yeah.
I just kind of did it, not thinking anything of it. Then I saw one of the comments was like, oh, it's so funny when Shoji did the hand thing, I died. I'm just like, Yes. And then also with my hair, someone actually counted the number of times I had to flip my hair. Because for Shoji, his hair only stops here, but for some reason, I decided to have his hair all the way down here.
So much hair.
So someone actually counted the number of times in the set I... da 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 da. Boom.
Da 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 boom.
Da 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 boom, yeah.
Trini, you had to split between 3 characters. What was it like changing things up in such a fast-paced set?
We were just talking about this earlier. Like, thanks to Across the Multiverse, changing was a breeze. We got lots of practice.
Especially switching from like different characters, just flipping the switch. Like once the cosplay's on, like I'm just that character now. That's just how it had to be.
Yeah, I think Hakagure and like Ash are kind of similar, as in like they're both like very kind of like energetic, more of on like the peppy side. I would feel like I put a little bit more thought and effort to how I would portray Shigaraki with like his posture and like the way he like carries himself, and yeah, because Shigaraki's probably like the most different out of them. So it was like trying to be creepy and like but have a hand on my face. I was like, oh yeah, facials. You couldn't see them, but I was doing them.
But they were there.
They were there. Yeah, to pull from my envy.
Oh yeah.
How do you feel about being our resident noodle king?
It's amazing. It's great. All the practicing with my waves has finally paid off. This is what I've strived for in life, is to be noodle king.
Not noodle queen, noodle king.
Noodle king.
Mine would be Shigaraki because that was my favorite piece, and that's the time where we not forget our characters but kind of be the atmosphere for Shigaraki. That was really, really fun to do, and I didn't know how it looked like until we saw it on the stage.
Yeah.
Rehearsal, you don't really see, you just see us.
Yeah, we just guys do it.
Just do it.
We didn't see the whole picture. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't see the entire picture, so seeing that on stage was very, cringeworthy.
In a good way.
In a good way, yes.
In a good way.
Well, you know, like when you see something.
Oh, like Goosebumps. It gives you goosebumps. Yeah, that's good.
No, it's not Goosebumps.
It's not Goosebumps.
Yeah,